What if you were to start a ball python brand totally from scratch? You hadn't bought any animals, you hadn't even made up a brand name yet, you didn't even know what your purpose or your vision or your mission was going to be about. Total clean slate. Steven from Leviathan Snakes and I asked ourselves that question, and we decided we needed to answer it. What's going on, everybody? It is Adam from Proper Royals. Thank you for joining me here today. It's a really special episode. It's a collaboration episode with myself and Steven from Leviathan Snakes. Who better to talk about business and marketing with than Steven? If you don't know Steven, first off, go check out their channel. Leviathan Snakes is the name of it. Secondly, Steven has an MBA with a focus in marketing, and he's actually started on some graduate work, postgraduate doctoral work in the field of marketing as well. Steven and I work together quite a lot, bouncing entrepreneurial ideas off of each other, breeding thoughts, ball python planning, business talk. We just hit it off. We're good friends. We enjoy getting nerdy on the business side of things. We both take branding very seriously. He takes it from a professional standpoint. I do think I'm professional about it, but I've had to be an amateur and learn along the way. So he's somebody that I've seen as a mentor that's helped me along the way. He seems to like to pick my brain for some insight as well. So what we did was we set the stage where we would say, what if we were starting a ball python brand totally from the start? And it's so hypothetical that we created the people, we made up the people, we made up what they were into, we made up all of this stuff. I don't want to go too far into it because you're going to see it all right here. We start from scratch, and today's episode takes us up through the people that were in it, what their brand vision is going to be. Steven's episode, which is part 2, is going to start with their ball python investment. So we actually take a pivot towards the business side. I think there will be episodes 3 and 4. We left off after diving in quite deep. I mean, it's a 2-hour session between both videos, but there's lots left unanswered, and we felt like we were off to a good start. Stay tuned. I think you'll see more in this series, but thanks so much for joining today. Be sure to check out the Linktree link down in the description. That'll get you access to all of Proper Royals media across all the platforms and everything that we deal in, and how you can contact me directly if you think advertising on Proper Royals content would provide exposure to your brand and you could help support the channel. I'd love to talk with you about sponsorships. Enjoy the content. Check out Steven from Leviathan Snakes, myself, Adam, from here at Proper Royals. This is our brand creation case study. Grab a beverage or start cleaning your tubs and just hit play, get comfy, and enjoy yourself. Thanks for hanging out. Enjoy.
Originally, this came about because we did like topics for Adam's live show, which is every Tuesday at 8 p.m. just in case you're watching it from the Leviathan Snakes channel and not on Adam's channel, because if you're watching on Adam's channel, you already know it. But so we were doing a show last Tuesday. This was like first week of May or so-ish. I don't remember if that was exactly right or not.
Yeah, I think it was. Matter of fact, I can tell you, yeah, it was May 10th, 2022.
Okay. So we were doing the show, and I was like, hey, what would your thoughts be for this live show if we were to like assume that there was like some reptile breeder who was like brand new, fictional reptile breeder, not like an actual like person, but if we were to build an entire marketing brand strategy for this fictional person, and we just go through like a creative brief, like here's all of the things to kind of like set up somebody who wanted to breed ball pythons as a business but hadn't done anything yet, like they were in the legitimate like planning stages. Total
hypothetical case study. And we're going to build that from scratch. And if anybody's wondering, I legitimately have no notes. Using my notes from my day job here. Nothing in my snake life is 31,000. So this is clean slate here of notes that we're going to jump into.
And I have a blank spreadsheet next to me, completely blank.
Oh yeah, you know what? I got to bring up my spreadsheets. You know I love that stuff. All right, hang on. I'm firing up Excel. Here we go. All right, cool.
So the reason why, like, we thought that this would be like a good, and I know I'm like kind of talking to the audience and also talking to you, Adam, at the same time, and we'll just kind of roll with it and all that stuff. But why this would be like such a good like topic is all the time we have people reaching out to us wanting help for marketing. And I feel like both of us are really, really conscious of marketing and like the business aspect of the ball python hobby. And that's not saying that everybody needs to be, but it's just something that I feel like that both of us like bond over.
Yeah. And I get a kick out of it. I mean, some people ride roller coasters. I like figuring out how to make money and going through these kinds of exercises and crunching numbers because then I can put a plan together that we execute and bring to fruition. So this today might be hypothetical, but I guarantee you there'll be something in it that I learn or an aha moment where maybe I already knew and I already had it in my head, but where I was like, okay, it's time to go and figure this out.
All right. So I'm going to, if it's all right for you, I'm imagine that we'll kind of like improv a lot of this. Like it's just going to be like, hey, I'm going to pretend that somebody's came up with this, if that makes sense. All right.
That sounds good to me.
So jumping into the actual video now, like not like all the setup and context. So in this situation, we got this couple. They have started. They got into breeding they got into ball pythons during COVID. They got a couple as like pets, but they weren't really thinking about breeding maybe like a banana, and that's all that they have: a banana and a bell, and that's all that they got. They each got it. Their names are Aaron and Jennifer. Okay. It's a couple. They decided that they
hang on. I sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
So I see two like classic paths right now. Like in the 2 years I've been in breeding, I see like the millennial, young, 22, ripping it. It's got their Instagram together. Figures it out, goes viral, makes money, and suddenly they're breeding sunsets. and then the other lane, the other extreme I see is like the 40-something-year-old couple that is not necessarily burnout, but suddenly we're like think that we're hip because we got a snake, and then we have enough life experience and business savvy to go, wait, there's something to this. Let me look closer at this. So Aaron and Jenny, where are they on this spectrum in their lives?
Let's say they are early 30s.
Okay.
They have one kid.
Okay.
That is 3 or 4, something like that. Not like a newborn baby and all that stuff.
Sure.
They have one kid.
Okay.
And they have good enough jobs where they can invest like a decent, not like go crazy, but they aren't going to be like, so if $200 isn't going to break them kind of thing.
And they're not playing GameStop gambling with their inheritance and their student loans, right? Okay, so they've got enough. They got enough sensibility to not be the old people in the room on Instagram, and they got enough life experience to start to have some sensibility that they're not just going to impulse buy everything, but maybe a little bit because they're excited.
Yeah,
as we all are. Okay.
So what I normally do when people come to us and they want advice is I try to figure out, one, what do they want from whatever their endeavor is. And this, for Aaron and Jennifer, in this situation, they want to be able at some point, they don't really have a timeline yet, but they want to be able to make a full-time living breeding ball pythons and selling ball pythons. So that is their goal. It's a business, full-time income, all of that stuff in this situation. Because I feel like that there's lots of people who are like this, that they fall in love with them as pets and that they would love to be able to not have to go to a day job that just like sucks the soul out of them and do something that they love.
Yeah.
Like, I like my job, but I feel like that everybody's like that. That's in here.
I got a little different twist on it because a good day job affords a lifestyle where we can dream about what we're talking about. So I'm okay with one coming before the other philosophically. I am at that point where if there was a realistic outlet to say you could feasibly care for yourself and your family by stepping away, I'm ready. And the excitement would be to climb that mountain, not to not work or not put forth effort, So that's the difference. It's not that I don't want to work. It's that I want to work at what I'll be more fulfilled with. And I feel that I'm at a point in my life where I've accumulated enough business sense, life experience, all of these things, just gravitas of how to interact with people as a leader for 25 years as my career. I think I could put all that to work, and man, ball pythons are pretty cool, and there's a pretty good market. So, all right, let's check this out. Is kind of my thoughts of my personal drive, you know?
Yeah, no, 100%. And like I said, I love my job. It's awesome job. But it's a job. And no matter what I do, if I work there for 30 years and I kill it and everybody loves me and I get in a car accident and die, they're going to replace me. And that's nothing against them. That's every single job.
Yeah, that's what we all sign up for. Yeah. Yeah.
I like the idea of like with any business, but even with ball pythons, because it's something that everybody like in our community is super passionate about, is you can build something that's bigger than just I'm clocking in hours to do a job that the second that I'm not useful to them anymore, they're going to replace me. Like,
I'm not to get off on a tangent. It was always my drive as a leader. It's funny. I say that in a no pun intended. There's a book called Drive by Daniel Pink is the author. Daniel Pink is his name. Drive is what it is. And he puts forth this philosophy that the old carrot dangling off the end of a stick, i.e. a paycheck, trade X number of hours for X number of dollars and we're all happy, is not the way to motivate anybody. And he goes this whole, and there's a TED Talk also. If you want the short version, you can Google Daniel Pink TED Talk. But after I read that book, and I remember when I read it in 2007, just after I'd started a new job in 06, and I was like, I'm going to try this. Like, what is this wizardry that this guy is talking about? And it's about what you're talking about, having a cause, having a purpose. Sure, you gotta get some money out of it. We all got to eat. We all need, and ideally we eat really well, and maybe we have steaks every now and again. But if there's a cause that we're working for, or a mission or a common goal, it goes so much better. So when I could hire people that, at an interview process are like, I really just like making people smile. Have you ever waited tables? No. Do you just really want to make people smile? Yeah. You like food? Are you willing to work hard? Yeah. Okay. Your job is to make people smile, and the vehicle you're going to do it with is waiting tables accurately. And it suddenly just became this whole different way to look at things. Man, I loved it. Anyway, that's a different video. That's a whole different time. Sorry.
No, it's all good. So for their situation, they want, in this like hypothetical situation that we're trying to help them build out a marketing and brand strategy, they want to take it full time at some point. They don't really have a timeline for it yet. Okay. What would you say, just like kind of picking stuff out, what are they into on the personal side? Not for ball pythons. What are other hobbies that they have? Oh,
okay. So ideally, let's build not a perfect scenario, but a reasonable one.
Yeah, so something that happens with people.
Right, yeah. And so ideally, these are folks with good credit. Not because they're going to finance everything, but because they've made good decisions that have led to good credit, and they don't waste money financing everything. And so, I think that they pick 1 to 2 holidays a year that they travel on. They probably go to 2 to 3 concerts a year that are probably memorable, like big concerts. They're not going to the club down the road that has, a new band every Friday night. But maybe when, Elton John's on his farewell tour, they'll save for, a few weeks or a month to go have a phenomenal evening. And they're probably living in suburbia because they got their 4-year-old, and that's just a great place to get off the ground.
Okay, so let's do music. Let's say they have a more niche taste rather than just like general, like here's popular music. What's a type like that you would say? Give me one, and then.
Wow. Okay, so we're going deep here.
It doesn't have to be like a specific thing, but just however, because this is how I think that we can build out a brand.
Okay. All right. I like this. Is a neat. This is a new way to go through it. This is a neat thing. So I don't know what a 32-year-old listens to today. That would be about 10 years after me. So they are. I don't know. What would that be?
What do you listen to? Let's say they're into a little bit, slightly older. Who is your favorite band?
Well, you know, it's going to be one day it's going to be the Stones, and the next day it's going to be Social Distortion. So I like classic rock that headed into punk rock. That was my thing.
Okay, let's say they are both musicians. One of them's a drummer. One of them played guitar. Oh, well, now they can get really nerdy. So you know, so the drummer's into jazz. He's a jazz guy. They're crazy. And she is a punk vocalist, a real down for whatever cause she's after. You know, it just dawned on me that the name Aaron is quite androgynous. I thought this was the same sex. Oh, yeah.
And that's not a joke. I was like, all right, we got, you know, okay. But if so Aaron is an Aaron with, and he's a drummer, and Jenny is a vocalist, real cause driven, and is, you know, has to have a mission in her music. Okay, so the reason why I think that whenever somebody, if it's a ball python, if it's another business, it doesn't matter, but why finding a really, really niche personal hobby or interest that is unrelated to the actual like business or topic is super important, because it provides a touch point that people can connect with them on. Yeah. And if we can design the brand around like music, specifically like this jazz / punk, like however we do it, it's going to make them seem way more unique. And I'm not like knocking on anybody than like first letter initial, second last name initial Snakes. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with people putting their names like that, but it doesn't make you stand out when everybody is AB Snakes or BC Reptiles or CD something. That's really neat you say that, because like, how do I put it? So for me, like, punk rock is a really important thing in my life. For the music, I enjoy it. I enjoyed the people. I enjoyed the music. But really what I enjoy about it is the whole drive behind it is about accountability and an equal playing field. And that's the standard that I hold myself to. And that ties into, and I swear, I never thought about applying it to, hey, what's their niche music thing? But that's where the whole proper thing came from. It was like, all right, how do I make it accountable, the right way, done well, healthy, clean, proper? That's where it came from. That is truly where that inspiration came from, though. Yeah, that's awesome. And like it's very similar for us. We did it. Leviathan Snakes. It's a pun off of Courtney's favorite book, Leviathan Wakes. Yeah, it's literally all. It's just we found an interest that wasn't related directly to the hobby, but is really important to us because we're both really big science fiction fantasy nerds. And that way we have a story. When somebody's like, how'd you get the name? You're like, oh, this is how we got it. Yeah. And in this case, for Aaron and Jennifer, if we build out a brand, we don't even know what the name will be yet that we'd recommend to them. But if we know that they're really, really into music, we could try to leverage, I don't know all of like the different terminologies, for music, because I'm not super big into like actual like musicianship. Right. What are, if somebody referenced a word that's tied to music, I'm thinking there's like treble clef, bass clef. Yeah. Well, okay. So all right. So I see where you're going here. So let me back up for a minute. A jazz drummer is going to be very persnickety. Okay. Understanding jazz timing is not for the faint of heart. Like I might prefer calculus to that. So all right. So we're talking a very, very analytical driven person, because this is how you weed out drummers, is take them to a jazz class kind of deal. Whereas the punk sensibility, what's the cliche? 3 chords and the truth. I mean, that is, let's get right down to business. Let's take out all of the extra drama and all the headache, and boom, here is what we're after. So those two making it together is a pretty interesting relationship. So yeah, there are treble clefs, there's bass clefs, there could be you know, there could be a guitar around the mic stand, almost, or not a guitar, a snake around the mic stand, almost like the medical staff, but it's a microphone in the middle with the pythons, you know, or drumsticks and a microphone with, you know, with the snakes. Something, I don't know. Is that the path you're thinking of?
Yeah, yeah, and just having the brand be centered around music in some way specific to them. However it is, and I think that if that's the logo, whenever it would come time to it, I would say like, oh, here are all of the different ideas we have for logos. Pick the 3 best one, and then let's try to make a rough like mock-up of those logos, and then the clients would end up picking the ones that they like the best.
The back of the napkin drawing that then gets polished up after. Yeah.
Let's try to think of name ideas, so that way we don't necessarily always have to refer to it as Aaron and Jennifer. We can be like, okay, here's our brand name that we're building everything around. So what is there any like specific chords that's used really, really predominantly in like punk rock?
I mean, punk is going to be just major and minor chords, whereas jazz is going to be some pretty complicated chords. But I'm trying to think if there's a play. Like
power chord pythons.
Yeah, we don't want to go too punny. I mean, you don't want to just go like straight for a pun. But so let me just rattle off some words and see if they trigger anything for you. So so there's major chords, there's minor chords. You might have a sharp note or a flat note. You could have 3/4 and 4/4 timing are the most typical. 6/8 would be a waltz, and then jazz can get, like I say, you can have a math degree and lose track of your timing. Let me see. So then you might you might talk about fidelity. Fidelity has your fidelity could be like as in hi-fi, high fidelity. Okay, but it has a measure of honesty and truth and care and compassion to it. That's interesting. And then let me just keep talking with no real direction here. So you would talk. You could talk in decibels, in audible, hertz, megahertz, frequencies. Ooh, frequency. A lot of what we do revolves around frequencies and snakes. Okay. Fidelity, frequency. Then major is actually a neat adjective when you take it away from chords. And, what else do we do? So there's snare drums, there's tom, floor toms, bass drums. So what about, because I'm just thinking of like E major, stuff like that, but like exotics major, or I don't know if that's too... And again, this is just coming up with ideas. This is how like all that this is used is like how you can try to find a outside interest, connect it to the business, so that way when it comes time, it's like, how did you get your name? It doesn't just be like, it's my initials. It is, here's the story about our brand. Yeah. In this case, it might be like, oh, Aaron and Jennifer met in college. One was a drummer, the other one was a punk singer, and however it ended up happening, and then it's like slowly built out. So we named our business whatever we named the business. Like, so maybe had a band that they technically E major is right. You would never say E major though. You would just say E. Oh, okay. Major is assumed. Okay. So if we design something with the E and then the M, people would assume that's E minor. M is for minor. Major is implied. If it's not clarified, it is. It's okay. Okay. No, I get that. I get that. What's the old Mitch Hedberg joke? Why do they call corn on the cob corn on the cob? They should just call it corn. That's how it comes. Same thing. E is E major. You just call it E. Okay. Okay. So maybe they tour, maybe they perform, maybe they are entertainers, maybe they are troubadours, maybe they are what would be
It's a good band name.
Well, then that's the eternal question. I mean,
okay.
Really, when we think about it, what were the Beatles up to? They were really full of themselves to think that was a good pun, right?
Let's say that they had a band when they were in college and they wanted to name their business off of the band. It doesn't even matter what the name would be, because in this case, they're just using their band's name. So when they tell the story, it's like, oh, this was our band in college.
This was the band. Okay, so it's 2022. They're 32, so they were born in 90. They were in college in 08 to 12.
Mm-hmm.
What were the big, like, if you're in college and you were set out to change the world and you were going to do it through music, what was your cause in 08? That, I mean, not to get political, but that was the time of Obama. We had the first black president. Whether people liked him or disliked him, it was a momentous historical moment.
I don't know. I'm literally just coming up with random things that I actually think this is a Linkin Park song, but it's the first. There's New Divide.
Okay.
I'm thinking of random stuff that I listened to back at that time.
That new is a great adjective. So, and it's great because we all want to differentiate ourselves. So if there's a new divide, but in business, we wouldn't want to be divisive ideally. So maybe New Frontiers, like a John Wayne movie. That's too dumb. It's gotta have an edge to it. I'm thinking.
New Origin.
New Origin.
That's a little redundant, but I mean, I'm just thinking of random things that somebody might name their band.
Oh, well, maybe it's maybe it's just Origin or
Origin Exotics.
Yeah, and what became what's all the movies in the past 12 years? They're all origin stories. We've done Batman, we've done Superman. We got to know where he came from, though. We got to have Wolverine's origin story.
Yeah. I think that works because we don't. This is just like an exercise. So I think Origin Exotics. Either way, I think the band could have been called Origin, and then for them, their story is they met in college. One was a drummer for a jazz musician. One was a punk rock singer. They actually happened to hit it off, and they decided to make a band. It was Origin. Actually was terrible, and they never went anywhere, but they loved it. And now that they're doing ball pythons, they want to call it Origin Exotics.
Yeah, they got the sentimental thing, and they're living their life in suburbia that neither of them ever thought they would when they were going to change the world 12 years ago.
Yeah.
I know the story well. Okay, I got it.
Okay, so we got the recommended brand positioning. And I think that what this brand positioning does, once you really, really nail it down, it almost, if you get it right, you can get like a personality for the brand. So in this case, like you could imagine that they are very particular, they are incredibly talented, and they are incredibly analytical, deals with like the jazz, like all of that stuff, and that it can probably, that attention to detail will probably transfer over to their animals.
Absolutely. And that was my point in describing what would create a one and create the other. I agree with you very, very much on that.
And then they also have the like punk rock aspect of it, where that they aren't necessarily, even though that they are incredibly talented and they know exactly what they want and how to get there, they're willing to break like rules and break molds so that way they can achieve what their creative envision is. So
as long as it's done with integrity.
Yes.
That's the difference. You can't detract from your cause of what you're working at. That's what people mix up punks with, and I'm not going to turn this into a punk thesis, but it's the accountability and the integrity part that goes with it. Break the norm, smash the norm, but it's got to be with integrity for your cause. And if the cause is ball pythons and the future of their family happiness and joy, they're people that you'd be very confident to do business with.
And I feel like that has the brand voice already has strong alignment with the reptile hobby, because if you're looking at the reptile hobby from the perspective of the general public, it's already you're breaking social norms, and ball pythons aren't understood animals. So by the fact that they are leaning into it in this brand strategy, it can create, in like ideally, greater resonance with the actual people who love ball pythons, because they're all probably a little bit counterculture because they don't just want a cat.
That's right. We would all have kittens, and that's what we would make, and they're cool and they're fine. I'm allergic to them, but they're fine. But aside from the cat talk, you know, you really hit on something, man. I might have to do a video or something on this. Like the diversity in our hobby, the inclusivity in our hobby, the almost like family. Like I've seen people bicker within the hobby, but God forbid somebody try and intrude and you know, a law change or there be a threat of losing animals. Like bickering's done. It's time to get to work, kind of, and that's family cause kind of stuff. That's really cool. I love it.
So overall, and we can get into more voice when we get into like how they'll tailor their creative, but I think so we're looking at Origin Exotics started because they were a band, they're musicians, all of the stuff, but have, as you said, traded in their dreams for a salary. This is how. Like,
I think that was off air when I said that. So
okay.
The quote that Steven and I are wrestling with, or that I'm wrestling with, and in therapy with Steven with, is the quote that goes, "Salary is the drug they give you to make your dreams go away," and that's a little dramatic and a little bit much. But I had a scenario today where I was like, man, my other stuff is interfering with what I want to get done here. And the one atom on this shoulder goes, yeah, there's a bunch of money just sitting there. All I got to do is go work and get it. And this over here is going, yeah, you're going to walk away from your 1.5 year commitment to put out this great content and these shows and to collaborate with people like Steven for that little bit of a moment of money. And I was like, salary is the drug they give you to make your dreams go away. Get out of here. I'm going to work on this project with Steven tonight.
I'm excited about it. I do like how it kind of fit into like all of this just naturally too. We didn't plan any of this. Like,
no, we didn't. No, this is truly it. So for anybody watching, like these kinds of creative sessions, whether it's music, whether it's marketing, whether I do this with a good buddy of mine named Jay. He doesn't come on the show, but he's in the audience a lot. We'll do this stuff like 30 minutes a week on the phone. And he's a restaurateur and a real estate agent. And I'm a restaurant consultant and a ball python breeder. And all we do is just brainstorm entrepreneurial ideas in this format. So like finding that group of people that will dream with you that way, also have expertise in different areas. It's a killer way to learn, like jump in. It's one of my favorite things of what YouTube has provided is that I've just met so many people with so many different ways to look at things. It's fantastic. So anybody watching, that'd be one of my first like exciting things, like go pursue it. Like the payback, you don't realize how quick it comes too, man.
I really, really like the online community, especially the reptile online community. It's just super, super positive and made so many friends. Like,
yeah.
Okay. Jumping back into this a little bit. So we have a recommended brand name. We could go into colors and we could go into logo stuff, but right now it's not necessary because we don't have visual elements to kind of like show. Maybe if we do like a future like follow up, we might do it. But then again, it has to do with designing logos, and I'm not a good graphic designer.
Can I share and steer me through it, because this is your world of expertise. But I did this. So the exercise that me and Steven are doing now might normally be called something like a discovery meeting or something like that. And I work for a pretty big resort operation on a lake up in North Carolina. And we needed to go through a rebranding. And we had these kinds of conversations. What does the brand mean? What drives you all? Why are you here? What would define? So instead of asking music, they asked us, what would define success for you? And I was like, well, a Gibson 335. If I'm rich, that's the guitar I'm going to own one of these days. But where I'm getting to right now on the colors, like, how do you attach, and I'm saying this rhetorically because it was this aha moment, how do you attach a color to everything we've just talked about with Origin Exotics? And what these marketing the team did, and they were great. They're called 3 Owl out of Atlanta. This is fantastic. They had unbeknownst to us, they had hired a photographer who took, I don't know how many tons, pick your number, pictures around the property. And boom, in walks this photographer right on cue, starts laying out pictures. What represents this place the best? Mm-hmm. And then we started taking votes and debating, and you know, you never come to anything quite like consensus, but you get front runners emerge, and every, you know, we could all agree that that's either 1, 2, or 3 out of 10,000 or however many. Mm-hmm. And the picture that we chose was actually on a forest floor looking up through trees, up through a sky, and there was a mountain behind it. Mm-hmm. And then they plug it into a computer program and go, well, this picture is 60% sky blue. It's 10% white. It's 12% forest green, and it's gray, and it's 10% brown. You don't use more than that. And it was like, well, oh my God, there's our colors palette and scheme right there. And they break it down into a pie chart that you can visualize. Hey, in your branding, you got to have 60% of that sky blue. That's your core of everything you do. Mm-hmm. Then you can plug these others in. That's the first time I've ever seen that, and I've never been through that exercise. Is that the typical way it goes, or the mechanism you use, or how do you come up with colors? Not that we need to.
Yeah. So usually what I do is that I don't go with that. That's really cool, and I'm probably going to steal that if I ever have to actually pitch somebody.
It was like, and they lined us up because then we couldn't disagree with it.
Yeah, that you guys chose.
You couldn't be like, no, we're a yellow company, and they'll be like, no, you're not. There's nothing yellow to do with this company. It was fantastic.
Usually when I'm going about picking colors, I will, based off of what I kind of feel the brand's tone is, try to find a color that, and this is just gut feeling, that I think matches or resonates with the brand's tone. So I'll use like us, Leviathan Snakes, as it. One of our things when Courtney started Leviathan Snakes, because Courtney's the one who started it. I wasn't involved. I actually told her no twice about breeding ball pythons. Courtney is the one who started it, is that she felt that buying a snake as somebody who wasn't part of the reptile community, because we didn't really know anything about it, was a really, really weird experience, and that it seemed like, not to like be like value statement, but not geared towards a like 20 something year old woman. That it was a bunch of men, most of the time significantly older men, that had kind of like grungy, dirty kind of looks to their brand or their photos, and it didn't feel warm and inviting. It kind of felt like that you were talking to somebody who is like, again, this isn't value statement, but isn't going to actually care about what a woman would like.
There's almost like a pro wrestling component to our hobby. Everybody's got this like persona, and they're cutting promos, and their logos are super aggressive. You know, it's a snake or it's a pit bull with a snake or a snake with a pit bull. You know, you're like,
very dark and like hard colors, if that makes sense. So she wanted to make, when she wanted to start breeding, she wanted to specifically start breeding that would make women, other women like her, feel comfortable reaching out, that they wouldn't feel, oh, I'm going to talk to this guy who's going to be like mean to me or rude or like try to like scam me or anything like that. So she wanted to build a brand that came across as incredibly friendly and warm, and therefore we chose purple as the main color. That's a great
story. Like for those people watching too, like, the other thing that Steven and I can do with this is chop these up into shorts. Like these 30-second and 45-second snippets of really insightful or passionate or thoughtful or aha moments. Like that's another thing that these meetings are really great for, is you get these unplanned, unscripted, just boom, honest things, you know?
So a couple things that I think happened like it just happened. It was lucky that it happened this way really well. Is one, most of the people in the ball python hobby have very dark colors because it's often like a lot of men who are in it, and men tend to like darker colors. Like it's not, nothing's wrong with it, just happens. But it makes things look like a little bit more not as happy, if that makes sense. So by having purple and having like really bright colors, just the difference makes us stand out.
Yeah.
Than a lot of the other competition. So I feel like that's the only other person I can think of.
Case in point, I mean, black and white. Mine has kind of a tattoo banner feel, a python with a crown on his head, like he's some king or something. Yeah. But yeah, there it is. Yeah.
But that's one thing. So for them, I would probably try to find, if I were going to do it, I'd try to find a color that I felt was classy like jazz, but had the edge of punk, maybe like a maroon type color. Because like having like a deep red, I kind of feel like is punk vibe, but then like the more maroon is classier.
Yeah,
so.
I got you. Throws it back. So I know about myself when it comes to decoration or it's weird because I'm really into music. So, you know, quantifying what's beautiful music is nearly impossible, rightly so, because it's art. But so I always joke, for example, my entertainment center would be cinder blocks and 2x4s if it weren't for my wife. And I would be completely happy. It wouldn't be like, oh, I suck at decorating, that's what I do. No, I'd be like, it's what I need.
It works.
I need the TV elevated. I have other things that I'll spend money on, and it doesn't offend me. But in that vein, I'm very limited. So my fallback is black and white. It's classic. It's my suits at work are, I wear a charcoal suit every day and either white or a purple shirt. And then my ties and my socks are the only thing that I throw off. And I make no effort to make them match because I could tell people the story of, hey, there's the entertainment center kind of thing. So hearing that insight is really kind of neat. It's almost, what do they call it? Synesthesia, when you apply like colors to certain traits that really have no bearing. There's no reality to it, but it fits. Yeah.
But so that's probably the way I'd go with it, and I'd just kind of like make sure that there wasn't anything else that was like super similar. Like if we typed in Origin Exotics and there was something like an Origin Snakes that also used a really close ret, I wouldn't do that. And there'd be some market research that we would do on this, but that's kind of like the way I go about the brand color for the first ones. And they might hate it. They might be like, no, we're green people. Like, we love green because whatever their thing. And it's like, okay, we'll figure something out. But that's, yeah.
Yeah, and there could be a sustainability cause with it. And, of course, green is that color. And yeah, so we would go back, I guess. But, yeah, from a, you know, in my experience with that really, really big marketing brand makeover, and when we talk about a brand, we're not talking about just a logo. We're not talking about just, I mean, we're talking logo, we're talking mission, value, core, you know, purpose points, defining our culture. The font has to match it. If it's a rigid company, then maybe you have a certain font. Again, if you're talking about a kind, warm, welcoming place, you'd have a little softer or cleaner font. And restaurants, to me, are all about cleanliness. So I would want things just clean and simple. Clutter in a restaurant is the devil. So all of those go into what we're talking about on a brand creation. But I will say, in that experience that I had with that company, what we didn't realize they were doing was they were building a cohesive and nearly consensus-driven result that we only had to look back at ourselves for how we got it. There was no way we could tell them that they were wrong because we were the ones that chose it. It was this really, really great. They brought it out of us, and that was really fantastic. And that's a skill in and of itself. But so they would have along the way found something to get us to say, we love maroon, we love black and white as in a tuxedo, and we, you know, wherever we're going to go with Origin, they would have brought that out of us. It was really,
I like it.
Yeah,
I like that a lot. I'm thinking of black and white for tuxedo, but because again of punk being a little bit laid back, like they have little tuxedo shirts if they were at like shows, and
right?
Like,
yeah. Or the bow tie would definitely be undone, never done. but yeah, you look classy, but like, you know, 6 points in kind of thing.
Okay, so this is overall like brand kind of look, but let's talk a little bit about like what their ideal customer is going to be, because I think that beyond your own individual identity, any brand needs to be true to the person or the company. If you have a brand that says we are the absolute best restaurant that has ever existed and there's cockroaches crawling on the floor, it doesn't matter if you say that's what you are, nobody's gonna believe you. So it has to be true.
Yeah, the being a hypocrite is horrible. To me, it's one of the worst. Like, I struggle with leadership decisions because I'll undermine myself and go, well, I was never perfect on that. How can I ask somebody else to be? And like, you got to get over that. But on the other hand, you're exactly right. You can't fake it, man. I hate that expression, fake it till you make it. No, you got to learn it until you make it, until you are what you say you are, in my opinion. So yeah, when you say who is their customer, do you mean who are they going to target? Because I'm assuming if somebody wants to buy a snake from them, barring an ethical problem, they're going to sell it to the customer.
Yeah, so I completely agree, but I think that there is a difference between the person who wants to buy a banana ball python as a pet and the person who wants to buy a desert ghost clown to breed it.
Sure, of course, of course.
And that figuring if their goal ultimately is to make a full-time living for this, if they're wanting to go, it all depends, and we talked about this a little bit on the live and like the one video that we had done on it.
Yeah, I talk about this a lot. Go ahead.
Yeah, figuring out like, what do you need to achieve your goal? So if their goal is to make a full-time business for it, if they're one person, maybe that's $50,000, maybe it's 60, maybe it's 70, maybe it's $30,000, depending on where they live.
That's right.
If it's for two people, an entire household, and they want to get to the point where they can both quit their jobs and work their Origin Exotics full-time, how much money do they need for that? Maybe $100,000 a year?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to need 80 to 100. I mean, they got a kid. They got presumably, of course, there's either rent or a mortgage, which these days can be about the same price. But yeah, they're going to need, you know, I mean, maybe 70 to 90. They're 32. Maybe they're not, you know, maybe they're not making 80 to 100 yet. Although between the two of them, they are. It's got to be 70 to 90. I mean,
okay.
On the low end, it's got to be. One thing on your comment just a moment ago, this is the question where, and it's a good defining moment for people to ask themselves, on the spectrum of hobby to business, what's your mix and where are you at on that spectrum? Because I think the road you're going down is actually, it's a difficult road to embrace, but it's an easy mathematical road. We're about to figure out they got to sell X number of snakes at X average price to make X dollars that we come up with. If it's a hobby and you're going to let emotions drive it, that equation is going to get messed up pretty quick. If your goal is to make the world's first X, Y, and Z, that might not fit into the business. Hopefully the business will fund you being able to do that. But to your point, what I wouldn't say I argue with people, but I have to stake my claim of telling people that stuff would be killer. But here's what I've got to be able to move right here, right now, because it's at my fingertips. And I'm not going to get distracted by the razzle dazzle right here. I might be the guy that's got to sell 45 pieds, but I can sell 45 pieds. I may or may not hit razzle dazzle, but I can't risk that. So that's a really great, really great point. And that's what I meant by I talk a lot about that on my show.
Yeah. And I actually think, because you were like hitting on it too, I think there is multiple different ways that somebody can go for it, but I think your thing of like, what's the mix? And I think that that's really important for establishing this brand and anybody who's actually going to look at their marketing and brand. What is your mix? Somebody doesn't have to only do desert ghost clowns, and that's all that they're ever going to make is desert ghost clowns or double het desert ghost clowns or clown het desert ghost or anything like that. They can, that is a viable option, but you don't have to do that. And I would say for a lot of people, if you go in so specific on one exact project, well, I'm a proponent of specializing in projects, but if you only do one, that's the only market you're going to have. So if your only market is people who want Desert Ghost clowns, and everybody who wants to buy a Desert Ghost clown from you already has a Desert Ghost clown, you don't have any other projects that are going to interest them.
Yeah. And here's the problem and the beauty.
Mm-hmm.
It takes the right person to do either one. I just watched John, what's his name, from JD Constriction.
Yeah, yeah.
All he breeds is Axanthic, and he's like flaunts it in a great way. What a great guy! What a great asset to the community. Matter of fact, I talked to him today after seeing him on the show. I reached out to him. It was great.
Jeremy did awesome on the show, by the way. Just in case you're watching, Jeremy, you killed him.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, it was on Warful's Exotics. Check out Warful. He's a great dude. JD from JD's Constrictors. He was so down to earth today. We were talking. I just sent him a note saying, "Hey, thanks for being a cool part of the hobby." And by the end of it, he was like, "Hey, why don't I come on your show sometime?" I'm like, "Why don't
Oh, that's awesome."
But circling back, he is the right personality to go. I don't breed for color. I literally don't breed anything that's not either Axanthic or het for Axanthic. That's it. Period. End of the story.
And his is even more specialized because it's not just Axanthic; it's TSK Axanthic.
Has to be right. Yeah. And so, like, for me, that gives me the chills. I'm the guy that wants to buy index funds and go the long run and maybe not be the tortoise, but I'm not the hare. I'm diligent in it. And even again, you and I have talked about this because I think you're going to nail it with the Sunset Project and the Sunset Specialty. To me, it gives me the willies. Man, that's a lot of overhead to like go for the one, but you're going to do it because you're the guy for it. I wouldn't be the guy for it. I got to be the guy that's going to go, all right, I'm going to test thing out diligently for a long time. I'll figure out how to get profitable. I'm going to do that in my second year, which is great, but it's because I had low overhead to begin with. I'm not going to be wildly profitable, but in the 5 years, we will have met our mountains respectively on our own paths, I think.
Yeah. And like, so one thing, and this is marketing, like it's 100% marketing. I talk about Sunset all the time because I love Sunset. It is my favorite project. It's my favorite morph. If you were actually to look at what we have for total snakes, Sunset is probably the one that we've spent the most money on, but it is certainly, we're pretty close on other projects. We probably spent very, very close for the Asphalt project too.
See, that's interesting because you're right. It is marketing.
And Clown is another one. Well, I would say our big ones are Sunset, then it's Asphalt, and then it's Clown. We probably have 10 Clown females or het clown females or something like that. And I think
the hedge fund, right? That's the Clown and Pied are going to be the ones. I know Clown's way hotter than Pied right now, but we're only one. We're one Justin video from some amazing Pied for that pendulum swinging, but yeah, those are like the hedge funds where we're like, okay, I'm going to swing for the fences on this stuff, but I know the Clown and I know the Pied. We're okay with those if we've got a strong base.
I completely agree with you, and I think that is great for their brand strategy.
Okay.
I genuinely
there we go. We just landed on it. Yeah, you're right. You're good. Yeah.
I genuinely believe that anybody who comes into the hobby, it doesn't matter if you come in today, if you come in 5 years from now, if you come in 10 years from now, or if you came in 10 years ago. Clown, Pied, and now Desert Ghost, I think, is the other one. It doesn't matter which one of it is. Everybody always wants something of them. Somebody might like Clown more than Pied, but everybody loves both Clown and Pied. And you might not have like Desert Ghost right now. Like we don't actually own our own Desert Ghost right now. We're collabing on a project for Desert Ghost. So that way we can get double het Desert Ghost sunsets.
Sure.
But everybody knows that Desert Ghost goes well with pretty much anything. And I think that if they specialize, and it doesn't mean that all of their snakes are like this, but if they picked Clown, Pied, or Desert Ghost as their base, then they could branch out from there. And if they wanted to get other projects and work them in, I think that if they chose one of those three as like, we're going to be the Clown people, or we're going to be Pied people, or we're going to be Desert Ghost people, and then they just work with it. I think Ultramel's getting to that point too.
It's got the chance to. It's got that initial. It's got that not initial. We're past the initial. It's shown some staying power on a pop. We got to see where that pop goes. And I'm all for the pop. Let's go Ultramel. I've got actually through no specific purpose, but I'm actually suddenly well invested in the Ultramel project, so I'm in for it.
Get it. I think of all of them, of those three, or of those four, Clown, Pied, Desert Ghost, Ultramel. On their own, I think that Clown has the most potential for combos and other high-end projects, but Pied has the best like breadth. Like a single gene Pied is pet range. It's like $200, $300 for a male, and they look beautiful.
They're incredible. Anybody that comes over and they're like, "You have 50 pythons," I'm like, "Yeah, check this out. Look what a xanthic does. Look at all these different kinds of albinos." And they're like, "Yeah, that's yellow. Yeah, that's black." Like, what is that? When they see a Pied, it is the most visually like engaging to hook people into the hobby for sure.
So that would probably be if we were literally developing a brand strategy for Aaron and Jennifer in this situation for Origin Exotics, and they hadn't really bought any breeder animals, and they wanted like, how should we go about this? I would probably suggest buying into Pied. I would get Pied females, het Pied females. And they don't even have to be anything crazy, but just get Pied females first, and that's how they should build up their base. That's my opinion on it. What's your thoughts? And that doesn't mean that they only get Pieds, period, but that's what their core would be. Yeah,
I like so Pieds will always sell. Pieds will cover your costs, I think. I think if they're willing to go after some combos, Clown will give a little higher ceiling on investment. Yep. However, it takes a little bit more, like to get a really interesting combo from a Clown takes a little more investment. And not to get super nerdy on breeding, the market is absolute, and I don't mean flooded in a negative way. The number one hit on the radio floods the market and everybody wants more. It doesn't mean that it's not going to be the hit. It's still a hit. But what I mean is to differentiate yourself in Clowns is really hard. And it is hard in Pieds, but Pieds come with such amazing differentiation. It might be that they start and wait till they find that, aha, wait a minute, I want to work this into Pied, or I want to work this into Clown. So maybe like if I were going to go like a real like financial planner mindset, maybe it's a 65-35 mix of Pied to Clown where they can have their fingers in both. But again, you might not get rich, but you can always move a Pied. And you can always move a Clown as well too. But I think, you know, if you're vending the aha, what is that, mommy, is a whole lot stronger with Pied than it is with Clown, just from the day one impression. So for me, I would say I would agree with you. But then I would encourage them, myself, I would encourage them to start over that first year, start thinking about where they want to reinvest their money, any profits that they make, into something bigger than, because to be a business, you're either going to have to scale, you're either going to have to try and be Wilbanks and scale your Pieds and Clowns in a really insurmountable way, or you're going to have to risk something somewhere. So for me, it was Candy, Ultramel, Lavender were my differentiators. I've got an Xanthic as well. But my Xanthics I'll probably make just to sell Xanthics. I don't think I'll go, you know, trying to even minutely follow JD or what he was talking about. Whereas Candy, Lavender, and Ultramel excite the daylights out of me, and I feel I can put those on top of any other craziness that comes from a Clown combo or a Pied combo. And the fact is, once I got money and cash flow coming, I don't have to create the craziness with the Clown or the Pied. I can go buy it when I find it and then jump straight in line on my other things that I'm passionate or interested in. So I just pulled up on Morph Market real quick. This is May 16th, 2022. I can't share my screen. Well, I may be able to, but it's all right. It's not. We can deal with this later. It doesn't matter because it's just going off of like prices. Right. I searched for Pied females that buy least expensive, and then I did it as adults. Great, so, great.
if you were to buy an adult pied female right now in May of 2022, they're about $1,000.
Okay.
Which I'm not going to say isn't a lot of money, but if you are thinking of a business investing $1,000 in an animal that could potentially breed for you this year and give you a clutch this year, and there's other issues on like jumping directly into breeding without having an established market or anything like that I would warn people on, but they could. I'm just trying to find the baseline of what they could like find pieds for if they were going to.
Yeah,
so,
and in our scenario, you know, there's so many nuances that we could dive into. I think it's incredibly important what you're saying. You know, we talked about a mix from like a financial standpoint, a financial planner standpoint. So if we said 65-35 pied clown, I would also say probably no more than 30% adult breeders and 70% you're going to grow.
I completely agree with that.
You're going to grow up and learn, because you're not ready to have 100% breeders. You're not ready to give up. Something is going to go wrong, and God forbid the whole thing goes wrong, and then you just crap out and you get out, versus going, all right, that was only that it hedges your risk. That's only 30% that got screwed up in the first year. Now you have the next year and the third year to become approaching expert or some level of mastery of what you're doing. I couldn't make a video on it because it's the most boring thing in the world. But for 3 weeks, I've been calibrating a 7-foot tall incubator. It's hard to do. I never thought it was. I thought I got this badass incubator, which it is. But let me tell you, the little ones that only fit 4 boxes, you could set one of those up with no temperature variation really fast. That thing is kicking my butt, and I'm literally expecting eggs in the next 24 to 48 hours. That's the reality of why.
Oh, that's awesome. By the way, I can't wait. I'm so excited because this will be the first clutch of the season, right?
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny. It's a just to take a side step. I call it an inherited clutch. It's a clutch that was when I bought the I bought somebody's whole operation. I bought their collection, their racks, their everything. He had already been pairing them, and it's my only of 13 pairings. It's my only pairing with no recessive anywhere in it. So it's an Enchi to a banana Enchi. That's what I've been waiting all year for.
Bananas sell. They sell so well.
Well, and you know, I was talking through with my wife on it today. A super Enchi banana. And the male, I don't know if it's a male maker or female maker. If I get all female banana Enchis, that'll pay for my rats for a good part of the year, that clutch, you know. So it's all in how you look at it and make the most of what you got. Plus there's this magic. I know that most people watching this at this point are probably breeding themselves, but there's just that magic of when that egg gets cut or when they hatch, and when you open that egg box, man, there's just nothing. Oh, it's unreal. It's the closest thing to magic, where you're just like, oh my God, like I didn't create it, but I created the atmosphere to create that. And that is unbelievable, you know? So I'm looking forward to it.
No, it's awesome. I'm stoked. We got one clutch in the incubator. We're waiting on that. And then we have like, I think 4 or 5 snakes that have had their prelay shed, and that they're all coming like within a week throughout the next month or so.
Yeah. Between total ovulations, I'm up to 7, and I think 4 prelay shed. So the business is about to pick up pretty significantly. Hey, thanks for staying through us with all that. We went deep on all of those topics. Like, you know, sometimes it's fun to really geek out, you know. What you need to do, though, now is go over to Steven's channel at Leviathan Snakes. Again, Leviathan Snakes, you can find the link in the description down below. On that channel, we'll pick up right where we left off. It was the same session. We both keep going. We just cut the tape right there. And Steven will set the stage and complete that section of the sessions. And like I say, I hope there'll be an episode 3 and 4 that we can bring to you too. Until next time, I cannot wait to see you in the next video. Thank you so much for joining today. See ya!